upcoming events with 2 feds and a live stream. This and the question of the week. Tonight on the eFed Watcher. Hello everyone, my name is Ticket, and this is the eFed Watcher. Last episode, I was given a challenge by the Everview to bring her on the show, so without further ado, here she is. Hey Everview, welcome to the show.
Hey Ticket, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Spare me the ass kissing. We both know you're not here to be my friend.
Yes, you're right. I'm here to offer a different outlook to what you bring on your shows every day. I look forward to the Question of the Week segment where I'll be back to do just that.
Okay, well, that's where she'll be coming in. But now on with the stories for this week. The holiday season is about to get irradiated in the best way possible because Stacy and her wife Harley are firing up their annual Christmas Eve charity live stream. And this year, they're taking the wasteland with them. That's right. The entire 12-hour broadcast is going full Fallout. The duo will be broadcasting live from twitch.tv/Stace and Harls on December 23rd from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern, inviting fans to crack open an ice-cold Nuka-Cola and settle in. They're cooking up an entire spread of wasteland classics like Blamco mac and cheese, Yum Yum deviled eggs, and maybe even squirrel on a stick if someone's brave enough to try it. And as always, they won't be alone. A lineup of guests is set to drop by throughout the day, with the first confirmed name being none other than Griffin Hawkins, ready to join the chaos, the charity, and the carbs. Expect Fallout-themed party games including charades, pin the tail on dog meat, and a wasteland quiz, all while raising money for a great cause. Whether you're a diehard Fallout fan or just there for the vibes, Stacy and Harley promise a stream packed with heart, humor, and just a little nuclear dust. Once again, that's December 23rd from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern. Stacy and Harley do Fallout. Wrestling fans, mark your calendars because All-Star Women's Wrestling is kicking off 2026 with a seismic jolt of pure adrenaline. On Friday, January 9th, live from the ASWW Coliseum in Atlanta, Georgia, the debut edition of Friday Night Fury is set to explode onto the scene. And this one isn't just a show, it's the opening salvo of a brand new era in women's wrestling. Every match on this card is part of the World Championship Tournament. The first 8 women who signed with the promotion are now being thrown straight into the fire, and the world is about to see who burns and who rises from the ashes. The bracket is stacked with the following matches: Kayla Maddox versus La Vampira Gotico, Paris Aris versus Melisandre Crowthorne, Miranda Fletcher versus Vivian Venture, and Azarine Vebens versus Cassandra Wilde. This isn't just a tournament to kick things off. This is the moment All-Star Women's Wrestling plants its flag and dares the entire wrestling world to watch what comes next. If you're not tuning in to Friday Night Fury, like I will be, you'll be missing history in real time. Wrestling world, buckle up, because the Pro Wrestling Collective is ending the year with a massive historic event. For the first time ever, PWC is hosting a mega card bringing together talent from 5 partner promotions: PWC, TWA, Infect Pro, Eternia Pro, and MWA. And this isn't some friendly showcase. This is a full-scale supercard featuring 8 singles world championships on the line. Yes, you heard me, 8 championships on the line. But titles aren't the only things burning. The megacard is also the next battlefield in one of the most volatile faction wars in the sport. The alliance of PWC Women's World Champion Lucy Theriot and the Tigress faction stands on one side facing the united forces of TWA Women's World Champion Ramona Rathbone's Black Lotus and PWC Global Champion Yelena Gorgo's Black Rainbow. Together, those 2 powerhouse stables have merged into a new super unit known as Black Dominion, and their conflict with the Tigress faction will be tearing through the ring. And just when that war couldn't get any bigger, Lazarus returned. The franchise player himself is finally back from injury, and he wasted 0 time sending a message. At natural selection, Lazarus returned to help the Morgans defeat the Makins, and then immediately turned around and leveled the 2 surviving members of the winning team. 2 of his own top trainees from the Infect Factory, Cassidy Morgan and PWC social media champion Gunnar Knox. A brutal warning shot, and the entire roster heard it loud and clear. Lazarus is back, and nobody is safe. But the chaos doesn't stop there. One of the most bizarre and oddly emotional conflicts in the PWC multiverse is heating up. The battle for Frankenstella. On one side stands the villainous Professor Polygon and his grappler ghoulies of WrestleVania, insisting Stella is nothing more than property, a creation that belongs to him. On the other side is TWA World Champion Aelfair Crowley and the unsettling but sympathetic Grave Pact, who believes Stella is a living person who deserves freedom and a life of her own choosing. Every feud, every faction, every title is colliding at once, and the Mega Card is shaping up to be the most explosive event the Pro Wrestling Collective has ever attempted. Okay, and now as promised, she asked for the seat. She demanded the airtime. She wanted to bring opposing views. So here she is. Everview, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm here simply because someone had to balance out your enthusiasm. Someone's got to keep things grounded.
Grounded? I bring information and charisma.
Right, and I bring critical thinking. A perfect match.
So, we asked the eFed community 2 questions this week, and the first one was, how much of your character's story do you plan in advance? And how much is improvised, based on other handlers or booking? As a fan, I think improvisation is the soul of eFedding. You can plan all you want, but the best stories? They happen when 2 handlers unexpectedly click, or when booking throws a curveball. If everything is predetermined, you lose that spontaneity that makes the scene exciting.
As a fan, I'm all for planned storylines. Not rigid, no fun allowed planning, but some structure is necessary. If you don't map out character goals, motivations, and long-term arcs, your character drifts. You end up reacting instead of creating, and then your story becomes dependent on other people staying active and consistent.
But that's the point. Wrestling is unpredictable. Characters evolve because others challenge them, and booking shakes things up. Improvisation makes the world feel alive.
Improvisation is fine, sure, but planning is what keeps a story coherent. Otherwise, your character is just stumbling from moment to moment because someone else posted something cool on X, and now you want to change direction.
Or your story adapts naturally. Momentum is a real thing. You follow the heat, you find success.
And then at the end, you look back and can't explain half of what your character did. Planning prevents that. Improvisation creates it.
So what I'm hearing is, you don't like fun.
I like structured fun.
Okay, for the second question, the eFed community was asked, how do you handle it when an angle you've invested in suddenly hits a wall? This one is easy. Simply pivot. You hit a wall, find the door next to it. Fans of wrestling know storylines collapse all the time due to injuries, no-shows, scheduling issues, real life, whatever. The best thing you can do is roll with it and turn it into something new.
Wrong. You rework cleanly, intentionally, without scrambling. If a partner disappears or booking shifts, you don't spin wildly in a new direction, you refine the story. Salvage what
matters. But sometimes
matters.
the only thing that makes sense is to walk away from it entirely and start fresh.
If you're scrapping an angle every time there's a hiccup, how do you ever build anything meaningful? A good storyteller finds a way to adapt without throwing the original intent in the trash.
Or a good storyteller knows when a story isn't salvageable. Some angles are like expired milk. Throw it out before it poisons everything else.
And some angles just need a rewrite, not a funeral.
So rework, not restart?
Exactly. Restarting is a last resort, not your first instinct. Rebuild the foundation before you bulldoze the house.
But if the foundation is cracked, boom! New house, new storyline. Sometimes that's where the real excitement is.
And sometimes fans like stability ticket, they like payoff, and they like a long arc that doesn't implode the moment someone disappears for a week.
Well, there you have it. Improvisation versus planning, pivot versus rework, and somewhere in the middle, the eFed community is probably yelling at both of us.
Good. They should. That's how you get engagement.
Speaking of, let's see what you, the members of the eFed community, had to say about both questions. Queen of the Death Match Kimberly Williams says, speaking solely about competitive RP feds, I plan as far in advance as possible. Once I had a story mapped out that gave me nearly 2 years worth of writing material. Brainstorming is always my biggest challenge, so I try to plan ahead when I get a chance. Yelena Gorgo replied with, I plan months to even a year in advance and then make adjustments as I go. Because everything I write is part of a serialized story, this makes it easier to segment individual stories and maintain pacing. But I make sure to leave in the ability to pivot if necessary. On to Jenna Matthews, who answered with, I don't do much planning as I did 5 years ago. I usually listen to other handlers. I restart if what I planned couldn't come to fruition. I'll pivot to another idea. Billy fucking Morgan writes, my most bizarre character, Frank and Stella, was intended as a joke. But based on the outpour of love everyone gives her, I then began writing things like backstory and lore, which has gone totally off the rails on the best way. So, both? On to Amber Payne, who wrote, I go with the flow of the story, but try to get my character out there more. If I hit a wall, I move around it and keep going. Thais Empress Steaky writes, I had a whole backstory and everything mapped out for this character because they are based loosely on a historical person and my attempts to adapt her life into modern times. Over time, more personality and development got fleshed out with their first fed. Dr. Alyssa Knight Keikoa gave this answer. We always plan ahead very carefully. We take pride in our work and our story. We have reworked, restarted, and went in different directions to keep the story fresh and ongoing. Gabriel Ohio wrote, my character's ending story has been planned for years, literally. If you guys aren't following Gabriel, please do, as he's an interesting character. I believe he's an NFW talent currently. The legendary JVDR gave this answer. After about 2 months of my initial run, I let all plans wash away. I just read and react. I work to keep the character ready, but I have slowed down a bit. I will still keep the character going, despite the advanced age, until it is not fun anymore. It is still fun. I'm glad, because he's the trainer for a lot of talent, and before wrestling schools were prominent in the sport. I kinda wanted to be a squire myself. Next up is Stella Bash Carradine. Plans? What are plans? I just get a random idea in my head and run it past my writing partner. We just go with the flow from there, and if it doesn't work, we either scrap them or rework them. I love you. I really do. Skyla Matthews wrote, I have a general idea and such, and go from here. Max Wrestling replied with, on my own show, I mapped about a year out, but life lifed and took me away from it. In other leagues or shows, it's a very on-the-fly situation, but I try to think out the stories up to the next pay-per-view or premium live event. When a wrench is thrown in the works, though, a hard pivot has to happen. Dean Matthews / The Sin said, depends on the character. The Rose, for example, had a story created fully in advance. This one pivots constantly. Civil War / Through the Looking Glass is more or less planned out with bullet points and small tweaks made as needed. This guy is quite a storyteller and has been in the industry for over a decade, if I'm not mistaken. He writes fantastic works. Evergreen Tree. I love the name and your Twitter name too. No bust, no but, no biggie answered. Bit of both. If I have a plan, I work towards it, but there is always room for new elements brought about by stories and or other players. Friendships, new rivalries, what I like to call wrinkles. The Big Ticket Harvey Marks. No relation to me, by the way. The Sexy Southpaw wrote, I plan very little in advance because I do not post frequently, and the landscape as far as other characters and writers in orbit could be vastly different by the time I write again. Pivoting is very important too. A Fedhead killed off one of his characters I was using in a running story in 2024. So, I just went all out and wrote a story where my characters attended that character's funeral. Even if you kill him, I'll use that. That's some creative pivoting and making the best of the situation. I can respect that. And getting a comment in at the last minute as we were recording this segment is Comet Tulahan, who wrote, I've had way too many witches, fairies, bunnies, space dolphins, dinosaurs, and time traveling in my backstories to ever convince someone I plan anything. If that's one character, wow. Well, that wraps up all we have for this show. If you stayed and watched the whole thing, thank you so much for your dedication. I would like to thank the Everview for coming on the show and debating with me. I think maybe she's not so bad. Anyway, until next time, you can call me Ticket, and I will call you my friends.